Saturday Night Leafs talk on the Sportsnet radio and podcast network. Also live right now on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and SN Plus. Sammy, Austin Matthews is your Candyman, your nightmare maker, a man who loves hats, who goes down to the rink. Like this is not what you want to see.
Yeah. That it's ridiculous. I come on here and say try to break down what I saw and try to sound like a smart guy, but it's absurd. Like it just,
Yeah.
back-to-back hat tricks, it just dominating both the games. It's really ridiculous and it's beyond any really Leaf fans' wildest dream.
Yeah.
It would like you take this for granted where you've watched the Leafs for 7 or 8 years with him now and you're like, wow, he's really good and wow, he's really great and he's measured against some of the playoff failures and people nitpick at his game. But like for a Leaf fan, this is completely beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Like we used to talk about if they could get a number one center, they legitimately have like one of the best 3 guys in the league on their team and they have him for 5 more years under contract. Like it's really enjoyable. And I enjoyed it again tonight in another wild game, which I hope he had the over.
So he's the first player since Ovi in 2017-18 to start his season with back-to-back hat tricks.
Yep.
But boy, I got to tell you something. 1917, 1918.
Mm-hmm.
What an opening week for hockey fans. Like nobody had the internet. Nobody had any idea of what was going on until they got the newspaper the next day. But then people were blown away because
Please read the names.
Cy Danini, Joe Malone, and Reg Noble all that year.
Those are
had
Merrick's favorite
hat-tricks.
players.
Buddy, the same day. What do they do? The triplets. There was there were 6 teams. There weren't even, I don't even know, these 1917. All these boys were just going back to back, ripping hat tricks that year. The people were getting their money's worth in 1917 and 1918 because I know how I would have felt if I was at the rink tonight. Okay, so Matthews is brilliant. I really don't know what else to say other than he looks extremely healthy. He looks extremely confident. He looks like he's having fun. And why wouldn't he? Because he's playing with Tyler Bertuzzi, Mitch Marner, and then a power play unit that looks disgusting as well, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. This is about as good as you could have possibly get for any kind of Leaf fan to start the season. Like you said, it's kind of the dream that you were hoping for, but this was probably priority number 1. If you were a Maple Leaf fan of, hey, what would you want to see this year? You'd say a healthy, confident Matthews that was doing his thing again.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think back to last year, and I think Borney said on the show on Friday that he didn't score his 3rd goal until like the end of October or something. Like it was crazy. Or 10 games into the season until he scored his 3rd goal. But like I'm trying to think back to last year, but that Selly he did on the 3rd goal, like that is big time playoff level. Like I'm fired up Selly, and you can't like I don't want to be Mr. Narrative here, but you can't help but think that just like this infusion of different types of guys into the lineup in a different mix of chemistry and different types of guys has changed the outlook for the core 4 here. Like they all just look way more engaged through. I know it's 2 games, but we can only talk about the games we've seen. All 4 of them just look way more engaged, way more fired up about things. They're in scrums. They're not backing down from anybody. Matthews is throwing his weight around on the forecheck. He's in scrums in the first game. Like, it's hard to not think that like the addition of Bertuzzi, Reaves, Domi, who we can talk about, but like just all these guys they've brought in seem to change the personality of the team for the way better in a positive light. Am I crazy?
I think that there's something to what you're saying. I'm just not attributing it to the personality.
They also can't defend, so that's adding to the wild game. So maybe that's part of it too.
Buddy, I think that they've played 2 teams that are willing to engage in no defense so far to start the season.
Yes.
And it feels like, okay, if the Leafs are going to play this way all year, this is heart attack hockey, baby. That like you are going to be on the edge of your seat. Anything can happen. No one's betting unders all year long. Like the Toronto just looks like, hey, the only way that they feel like they can compete in these early games, I don't even want to say the only way they can compete, but the way they want to compete is just, hey, let's trade. You get your chances, we'll take our chances, and we trust that Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, Bertuzzi, and this version of William Nylander are going to cash. I also think that it's not so much the personalities as much it is just like they've got blue liners that are snapping it around out
Yeah.
there, and they faced some horrific goaltending tonight. I would
Yeah.
say if there's two guys that look way different to me, it's Matthews and Nylander. And you can say one guy is trying to prove people that last year was an aberration, and the other guy is trying to prove people that he should get a big old bag of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess the Willie Nylander, if you want to transition into that, because I think Matthews is leading them in scoring, but I think you could make an argument that William Nylander has been their best player through two games. He's been excellent, just buzzing, looks bigger, looks faster
Mm.
again. And there's a conversation to be had. He's been
I
really,
just
really
think
good
if
too.
you look at the way Matthews is playing 200 feet and the fact that he's doing penalty kill right now,
Yeah.
and just look, man amongst boys taking pucks off guys'
Yeah.
sticks, Nylander's having some like I don't want this to come off like I'm criticizing Nylander.
Yeah.
I'm just saying he's still doing some Nylander shifts
Classic
where it's like,
Toronto media.
yeah, but
Classic Toronto.
hey, just show me the shift where Matthews got hemmed in tonight. I can show you a couple
Yeah.
where it happened to Nylander.
Yeah. I do hate this now that every time something sick happens, like that first goal he scores tonight is filthy. Like truly, truly filthy. The edge work on that is what dreams are made of. Like there's not many people on planet Earth that are going to
Yeah,
be able to do what he did there. It's really,
100%.
really, really high skill play. But then, like, you go on Twitter, you get texts, you see like what they're talking about on the broad. Like, it's just every single thing that he does this year in a really important year for the Toronto Maple Leafs is immediately measured against, oh, he's going to be rich. Oh, he's going to be rich. And it's like, what kind of existence is that as a sports fan? Where it's like, I can't even enjoy watching a guy who the Leafs have stuck with, had patience with, developed into one of the super studs in the league. And it's like, finally, they've got him to the point where, oh my God, he's one of the best guys in the league now. He's like a top 20 player in the league. He's an elite winger. And it's like, well, can't afford him. Gotta go. And it's like, oh yeah, well, I guess we can just talk about his contract for the rest of the year. Like, what kind of sports fandom existence is that? It sucks. And it's like
It does.
it's all anyone talks about. Like it's the
Yeah,
only
it
thing. You
does.
measure him against his contract. It just sucks.
I don't blame fans that constantly talk about the contract. Maybe it's just because I've spent the offseason talking about contracts and William
Yes.
Nylander and all this stuff. I'm not there anymore. Like, I'm just enjoying the season for what it is. I think that Nylander is going to get paid regardless. And I've kind
Mhm.
of had the position that if they weren't able to trade him this past offseason, then they probably weren't going to trade the guy this season, and that they were probably going to end up just giving the man his money. I think that both sides were comfortable letting it roll. Like, Nylander wants to be here. The Leafs know that they're going to end up paying him. Tavares' number a couple of years from now is going to come down. But yeah, to me, Nylander and Matthews look like they went to the same, I don't know, camp this year. Whatever the
Nutritionist.
waters are in
Yeah.
Sweden that Nylander was doing, he just looks refreshed. He and
Yeah.
Matthews both look extremely healthy. They look like they're in incredible shape. The skill is popping through, and it makes sense. They're in their primes. This is
Yeah.
kind of part of what this whole gambit was supposed to be about, collecting great players. I know there's urgency because of the market, but you do remember that, like, hey, Matthews, Nylander have been great players for a long time, but this is sort of the stretch where they're supposed to be at their best. That my question to you off the great players though too is like, so Bertuzzi looks great. He gets his goal. I loved seeing that. Nice little bumper pass from Yarncroc. Yarncroc gets bumped up. Good for him because he's playing better. I also wondered how much of this start, the good guys standing out, is that they're dominating, but no one really in the bottom six is.
Well, they're playing the whole game. Like, I
Yeah.
think I think it was at the start of the third period where it was they put out the Bertuzzi, Marner, Matthews line, and then they went to Tavares for a shift, and then they went right back to Matthews and Marner again. Like, I mean, I think part of this is you have a junior player playing center on your third line. I think you have Camp and you have Reaves and you have Gregor who are playing a lot too. Like that third line is a huge work in progress to me. Like I think the fourth line is an actual fourth line where you look at it and you're like, that's a line that makes sense as a fourth line. All those guys know they're fourth liners. They're not going to be wanting more ice time. They're not going to be asking the way to get up in the lineup. But that third line to me is one that's a total work in progress. And I think you're going to see it develop. Like they do need some more. Like, I don't think they're going to be scoring 7 goals a game from the top 6 every night here. They're going to need these guys to contribute, and it's
Mm-hmm.
going to have to work itself out. I'm not sure how it's going to. I think that third line is one that they're going to have to figure out. But like they got as good a top 6 as anywhere in the world, so I think that's something that you hang your hat on. But you're right. they need more from that third line. I think that fourth line's good. I like the fourth line. I think
Yeah.
they're capable, they're responsible. You have the element of Reaves, you have Gregor, who's got a decent little shot, Kampf's responsible. But I agree with you. The third line, to me, is something that they're going to have to really address and have a look at and see what they do with that. Find an identity for it. Like, what's the identity for the third line right now? It's just like three guys smoked together that don't really make sense at all.
I gotta say that I actually liked Minton a lot more tonight. In the first period, they had a bad icing. The icing guys just were back in pure form. You know, the Leafs did it so much last year. Minton on the ice after a long shift. He was good in the dot tonight. And this is a young kid. That's usually something that comes comes a little later in a career. Wins a big face-off and then pressures of the blue line to get a very, very important clear. He didn't look as overwhelmed. He looked better. But even still, you're right. Like the third line to me has had nothing. They put Domi down there. It doesn't really change anything. There's a couple of rush opportunities that they kind of fumble. I thought this was interesting though. Is like throughout the night, I went, man, you know what sucks about this third line is Nyes just really feels like a man without country. And Yarncroc gets the bump up. And I actually think Yarncroc deserved it because he played really well tonight. Like Yarncroc was a sneaky underlying star. But do you know?
And he's responsible defensively too. In the third period, they wanted that.
Yeah, absolutely, buddy. But Nyes was third last on the team. Only more minutes than Gregor and Reaves tonight.
Yeah. Who was off the ice for 5 minutes for fighting too. So that adds into it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Are you feeling that he looks good in his shifts? Because I am. Like, I feel like, I think he is a guy that maybe, like you said, man without country, like maybe put him with some better players, maybe try to put him up in the top six, like instead of Yarncroc, bump him up there and maybe give him a chance to look pretty good. But I think he is kind of lost at the moment. Like, he's noticeable. He's still really good below the net, and he's moving the puck along the boards when he gets his chances, but it just feels like he doesn't have the puck a whole lot. And a lot of that is his center's not getting him the puck the whole lot. He's got a new right winger with him the whole time. Like, it's either Domi or Yarncroc, and he's kind of moving things around. So I agree with you, but like, I still think he looks like Matthew Nyes. He just maybe needs a little bit of a boost when it comes to people he's playing with. No?
Yeah, I don't see him making like a ton of mistakes out there. He still looks like he has the speed and the size. And, we just rolled the highlight clip of him behind the net where I trust him. All I'm saying is his line feels like a lot of shifts where I'm just thinking survive, survive, survive. They seem pretty scrambled. And I feel like Keefe doesn't really know what he's supposed to do with him yet because Matthews has back-to-back games with hat tricks with Bertuzzi on there. It's not moving that. Nylander looks brilliant, and they just bumped Yarncroc up because they know that the way that that's constituted with Max Domi up there, you can't trust them defensively. And so if you're going to play them for a huge chunk of the game, you got to be able to have them play 200 feet. And then the third line all of a sudden becomes the untrustworthy boys. And that puts him in a bit of a tough spot. So, yeah, you're right about the fourth line. It's nothing really to write home about. Although I will say, man, tonight was just a nice for Ryan Reaves. Like, it's noticeable that he's always trying to put a body on somebody. I really like that. And it doesn't feel like, so far anyways, I'm sure he will do this, where he starts to run around a little bit and feels like he gets out of position because he's chasing hits. So far, I feel like almost all the times he's just like finishing checks reasonably. He's not doing like stupid, I'm just trying to insert myself into the game plays. Like he's playing within himself.
That lick he put on Gaudreau there was as hard as a hit a Leaf has thrown since like Dion Phaneuf. Like, I can't remember a hit that solid shoulder to shoulder, like perfect timing, right as he released it, guy watching his shot. And then he goes Foligno, who's a tough son of a gun. They both chuck some bombs. I think you said he maybe lost the fight. I thought it was pretty much a draw. They looked.
It's a draw. I just think that Foligno gets in two clean right hands, and then he kind of gives him the rabbit punches. Like, yeah, whatever. You could call it 10-9 for Foligno. I think that you could call it a draw. I'm not really too upset about it.
Good.
They
but
tie
no,
up
it's just.
right
But no, I agree with you. Like, I am pleasantly surprised with the Ryan Reaves experience in terms of how just like normal and responsible a fourth liner he is outside of the hits and fights. Like, he's not making glaring mistakes out there. He's just kind of getting the puck in deep, getting on the forecheck, and that's pretty much. Did you see though the one time tonight when he had the extended shift when Tavares and Nylander were out there, and even CC was like, "Oh, he's getting a shift with these guys. It's
Yeah.
like, no, he's still out there. That they call that
Yeah,
a McKee
he's
beer
getting
league
it.
shift.
He's getting a shift with these guys.
No,
No. Yeah.
he's staying out there for an extra beat. But
Yeah, no, that was not the
no,
case.
I just, you know, can we have a quick conversation about him off the ice?
I don't think it's time.
Reaves.
I don't
Okay,
know. You think he's talking too much?
a little bit, a little bit. And like I think
That's what he's
that's
here to
part.
do, though,
I
right? Like, I
know, I
think
know. It's part of the experience. You're not going to have the on the ice without the off the ice. You have to kind of eat it. But I could see it getting tiresome to the
hmm.
guys in the room pretty quick, I think. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm not going
See,
to kill him
I
after
think it's
tonight.
the
I just
opposite.
no, okay, all right.
Here's the thing. I think that part of it feels a little forced. So I think
Mhm.
that's what you're feeling. Like
It does feel forced,
he feels as though he has to constantly be saying something to get some attention.
like a
But
WWE or something. Like it's like
yeah,
wrestling.
but he's just answering some questions for the most part, and then he's just
Mhm.
the here's where I think what I think is mostly happening. He probably feels a little bit of a pressure to be the voice of the room when he said that
Mhm.
we had the rumor that the Leafs room was a little quiet. So he's probably
Yeah.
doesn't want to back down from the media now and feel like, he's just assimilating with whatever culture they had before.
Yeah.
Two, he's always going to be the guy that the reporters flock to because they're more likely to get an answer out of him. Like our boy Luke Fox asked him the question about Wi-Fi like 2 days later after the
Mhm.
fight, because as soon as he gets an availability, he wants that quote of Ryan Reaves wants the rematch. So
Yeah.
I'm like, he's not just standing. He's not a fighter. He's not Dylan Dennis going on Twitter saying I want to fight Wi-Fi next time. So I
Yeah, you're
I
right.
think it's a little bit
You're
of
right.
just the reporters are going to be horny for him. He's
Mhm.
always going to give you a quote. He's not going
Yeah.
to be afraid of it. And then he's got that like 5% of I better say something a little juicy to make sure that they're the reporters write something here or that I look like the guy that's backing up the talk. Also,
All right.
I think
You've
part
changed
of
you've
this,
changed my mind. You've changed my mind. Well
yeah,
said. You've changed my mind.
part
Well
of this
done.
too, I think, is that they don't want any of the headlines unless it's Matthews hat trick night or Nylander
Yeah.
2 goals looking like a beast night. They
Yeah.
don't want us talking about anything other than Ryan Reeves, what he's saying. They want that to
Yeah.
be the
Yeah.
storyline of the fourth liner that the Toronto fans love is
Mhm.
talking trash and we're gobbling up the trash,
Yeah.
because we're the trash. Buddy, we don't just have raccoons in our trash. We got Leaf fans eating the trash too. Like it's a double dip in this city. Anyways,
Yeah.
good fight, good tilt, good
Yep.
game for him. What else do I got here? I yeah, I had Nyes. I had the fight. Did
Can
Samsonov make you feel a little better tonight? I know you didn't like one of the goals, but
Didn't
overall,
like two.
pretty solid game.
Didn't like two of them. Thought he looked really bad through the first half of the game, and then he tightened it right up. And I give him full credit for that. Thought he looked like
Yeah.
normal Samsonov for the second half of the game. Hated that second goal so much. The first one you can't. There's nothing. Literally no goalie saving that. It's just a huge change of direction. It goes in the net. Second one was bad. Third one was the one where he's kind of swimming, hits off of him. Guy makes a great play, knocks it out of midair. Fourth one is another really sick high skill play. So I'm not going to kill him for that. The game's already in hand. But I thought he really cleaned it up in the second half of the game, including that nice glove save when the game was still kind of in doubt. Comes off the end boards, makes a good read on it. So thought he was better. Thought there's something to build on for him. Still 9 goals through 2 games. Probably not going to love that on the stat sheet. I'd imagine you'd see Wall on Monday against the crappy Blackhawks. No, you go right back
Maybe,
to
yeah.
Sammy.
Nah, I'd probably go to Wall. Probably let
Yeah,
Wall get a game in. It's not like
yeah.
Samsonov's played well. He's been
No, yeah,
fine. I
yeah.
will say this though, is like this is kind of what you need him to be, is the in middle of the pack goaltender that doesn't break your back in games, and I
Yeah.
feel like he's not breaking their back. This is a weird one for me to evaluate because I feel like he made some awesome saves early when the Leafs looked flat-footed to kind of keep him in it, or
Mhm.
not let him fall behind. And then he made, I want to say, like 2 or 3 nasty saves this game. One
Yeah.
off the rush, the glove save that you mentioned, the good pad save going across the net. And then he let in a couple where I'm like, that one you can't
It was
fault.
kind of the Samsonov experience, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it kind of
Yeah.
was. It was like,
Yeah.
but I just, yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe I'm judging him a little differently. I'm not expecting him to be the world's greatest goalie. I would say that if I have like,
I'm a
if we were
harsh critic
doing,
when it comes to
yeah,
goalies.
I
You
know
know
you
that.
are.
I hate goalies.
If I was doing my like biggest concern so far, which
Mhm.
is just, I'm bringing it up, whatever, they won.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't like the way the Leafs defend the cycle. They look like they get a little scrambly and they have a tough time killing it. And there was a few moments this game where, second period where they were getting outshot. And I went, what's happening here? How is this? It's like the guys that aren't the studs, they come off the ice and you didn't really feel like there was a real pushback or anything that was going to be able to push them into the offensive zone. And then when they when the other team's below the dots on the Leafs, it just looks like they're having a bit of a tough go right now. I don't know about the personnel.
No, I think the Wild, after the Leafs went up 4-1 and the Wild clawed back to make it 4-3, I thought they fed the Leafs their lunch physically for like a solid 10 minutes. Like it was a men against boys scenario where they were really physical. They were cycling the puck, like you said. They had a ton of chances. So I agree. I think that's sort of the bet that Treliving made on this team, right? Like that they're going to kind of go more offense first. Like look at the guys they signed. None of them are real defensive stalwarts, including the defenseman he signed, John Klingberg, who's not a defensive stalwart, but I have absolutely loved through 2 games so far. So we can talk about him if you want. That's kind of my next thing.
Okay.
Did you have any?
Honestly, I got nothing else. I had the fight. I had Nylander, I had Matthews.
I don't like the pairing of McCabe and Klingberg. I don't think they complement each other well at all. I've liked what I've seen from Klingberg, but like to me, Klingberg is like a Morgan Rielly type where he's going to be playing best with a defensive butcher, like a guy that's going to be back there for him. Like McCabe has been to me one of the more scary guys through 2 games where it's just like, well, I'm not sure what he's doing a lot of times where it's just very adventurous. Things are happening out there. I don't know if you remember the shift early in the game where he goes down into the offensive zone, flying down, almost collides with Marner, like knee on knee, like very close. And then the play goes down the other way. And it was just like a completely unnecessary risk when he got John Klingberg back there defending a 2-on-1, which is clearly not his strength. I think both of them have good, they're both good contributors to a team, but to me together, they don't make a ton of sense. So I'll be interested to see if they keep sticking with it. But Klingberg to me, this power play looks, I know were they second in the league last year? We talk about how like we hated their power play all year. They're the second in the league, but it just looks it's way more aesthetically pleasing with him back there. He is really, really good on the power play. It is a beautiful thing to see. He just moves beautifully, good reads. Like he really, really is born for that role. Excellent on the power play.
Yeah, shout out to Morgan Rielly, who had an excellent pass on the Yarncroc goal. Just absolutely
great shift in general.
Yeah,
go to my Twitter. I did a McKee's breakdown of that. It was an amazing shift.
I will just say it is a delight watching this guy, and he's a threat to shoot, like a real threat to shoot, and I think that impacts it. But then he's just tape to tape, like walks the line beautifully. He also has the size where when he is handling the puck, there's just a little extra something to it. I will say that it does feel like the Leafs blue line is just all guys where you wish they were with someone you trusted a little bit more. Other than Brody.
100%. It's like, boy, I wish all these pairings had a butcher.
Yeah, I wish every single one of these guys had someone that you trusted to be a little bit more defensively responsible. Yeah. And so I don't think that the matchups or the pairings are going to get any sweeter from this point forward.
Yeah.
I'm with you on the McCabe thing.
They got to make a trade. They need a real defenseman bad.
The crazy thing is like McCabe makes such a great cap hit that you'll never really be able to criticize him because that's the way the puzzle pieces fit. But yeah, dude, he is the ultimate okay, well, we know he's not a top pairing guy with Brody to shut you down. We don't really feel like he's a protector of a guy like Klingberg. And then I just don't see, like, he actually kind of feels like weirdly the domino that hasn't fit so far through 2 games or the puzzle piece that doesn't fit through 2 games to me. Again, 2 games, whatever, but that's what it is. It's a reactionary show. That's it for me, other than Domi gets demoted again. But I think that he's going to be the other guy. I think that they just don't know what to do with him. They don't know what to do with the bottom 6. Like they've just got 6 guys where they're try this, I guess. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a lot of that for Sheldon Keefe over the coming days. I wouldn't be surprised if when Minton goes, Holmberg gets in there or Camp bumps up and they just try to make some kind of Camp line with Nyes and Yarncroc. I don't know. Nyes, you can't put him with Domi. It's weird, dude. Domi, the Domi fears are real in the sense of when he has the puck in the O-zone, you feel like he might make a play.
Great
He's patient.
passer.
Yeah, patient with the puck on his stick, head up, like looking around, and then everything else, you're like,
Agree.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree with that face. It's never, I don't know. We're 2 games in here, so I don't want
yeah.
to get too reactionary. And I'm just really big fan of the signing, and I like what, having him and the history with his dad here, and like it's obviously means a ton to him to be a Leaf. But I don't think if he would have drawn up the way his first 2 games as a Leaf would have gone, it would have been like this, I would imagine.
You know what though? Here's the other thing. This is the other solution. Like, just try the Nylander at center thing then, and just
Yeah.
just give it a little bit of a runway. And because Nylander playing center with Domi on his wing, and then maybe like Yarncroc on the other, and then bumping Nyes up to play with a little bit more offense, and have him go with Tavares, like that. At least let me see that. Let me take a look at the William Nylander all offense line where you guys are just trying to pile on bad groups. And yeah, let me see Nyes with someone who can play, and those 2 guys try to get some cycle game going. I don't know. It's just, again, it's not perfect. I don't think Nylander's a center, but might be better than what you've got right now. Just saying.
Yeah.
That might be
No,
a way to fit him in.
I think when you mentioned when Minton goes, that's something like I could see them maybe calling up a winger like a McMahon or somebody from down there, or Robertson maybe, but I think they leave him down there a little bit longer. Maybe bring up McMahon or somebody, and then just move Willie to center and give that a week or 2 at have a look at it. But we'll see how that goes. Any thoughts on the goal song tonight? Did you hear it? Didn't notice it.
I didn't even notice.
No, I didn't
It's
notice it.
called Up Up or something. Yup.
Yeah.
Up.
Yeah.
I look.
Like, can we just play Nickelback? Play Nickelback. Just burn it to the ground. Just get it over with.
Hey.
Just play a song that everyone knows. It's not going to offend anybody. Let's just play a song. Like, stop searching here. Don't play Doop Doop. Like,
Doop Doop. That's it. Doop Doop.
Don't play Doop Doop. Like,
honestly,
just play a song that someone's heard of, man.
There is just a group of guys in some room.
I know.
In MLSE.
I know.
And they're grinding. They're grinding. And some suit is walking in there and they're like, "What's it tonight?" They're like, "Doop Doop." He's like, "All right, this better work."
Like, who came up with Doop Doop?
Dude, they had it. They had the goal song.
Yes,
everyone said,
amazing.
"This is fine." Even the complainers like me went, "Not for me, but it's fine." Bah, bah, bah. And that, like, we had it.
Pursuit of. I was listening to that song like 4 times in the last 3 days. I loved it.
This goal song wasn't good enough for the Sharks. Like I said, if you're going to do the rotating song, just play Kill 'Em All and go through each Metallica song off Kill 'Em All, because every one of them is a sick goal song. You can go with anyone. All right.
I like the personalized ones. I just let the boys pick their own song and play it when they score. That's what Buffalo does, and it's sick. I went to Buffalo. I went to Buffalo last year, and Victor Olofsson scored an overtime, and they played ABBA, "Give Me a Man After Midnight," and it got the fellas going. It's sick. Just let it shows some personality. Let them pick whatever they want to pick, and you get to kind of know something about them. It's easier than trying to pick Doop Doop, man. Like, it's the Leafs game ops is Doop Doop. That's all I know.
That was Doop Doop.
Get it
that
together.
Was Doop Doop. Dude, the Sharks didn't allow that to be their song, for God's sakes. It was too good for too bad for the Sharks. The problem with the Leafs all picking their own goal song is that they're all going to scratch each other's eyes out over who gets what Bieber song, and I don't need to hear that story. I don't want to read that story.
Oh boy, whatever song Mitch can gritty onto the ice to is what he wants.
I don't need it. Just play the Metallica song or the Nickelback song, for the love of God.
Or Creed with arms wide open.
That would be sick too.
Oh,
just hit a tune for the uncles.
Dad rock. Dad rock.
All right, we've reached the point of the show where it's time to wrap it up. Subscribe to the podcast, leave 5 stars, watch on SN Plus after every single game, and then it's on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Tell your friends, tell your family, do all those kind of things. For JD Bunkis and Sam McKee, thanks for watching, thanks for listening to Leafs Talk. We'll see you Monday, Bedard night.